that song, we automatically remember, hey, that's just what they told us in elementary school too, right?
No.
Or they should have anyways. And so whether they told you that when you were in elementary school, or they were really, really neglectful and overlooked how amazing you were, you're welcome here. You've come to the right place either way. It's really nice to see so many people here on a Sunday morning. And in case you haven't been here before, what we are is we are a transcendental center, a spiritual center. And what we do is we teach spiritual principles. And it's really good to know these principles, because if you can learn about them and learn to use them, then you can actually improve every aspect of your life, no matter how good it's going. So if some things in your life are already going really well, raise your hand if you wouldn't want them to ever be even better than that.
Oh, wouldn't want? Come on.
And if your things aren't going as well as you would like, raise your hand if you're willing to settle for that, because that's just how life is. And if you'd actually like to have everything firing just perfectly, raise your hand. Both of them if you like. But it's your choice, because either way you can have a great life. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what we always start with on Sunday mornings. I'm going to read a call of faith as Reverend Karen lights the candles. Lighting the flames of faith, a call to service. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. And we light the candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And as Reverend Karen Allen lights the last candle, let it represent the path that brought you here this morning. And I invite you now to join me in an affirmative prayer. And as I go inward, it's refreshing to realize, to allow myself to really embrace the idea that there is only one power, one life, one source of all, one infinite intelligence that in its original state is absolutely formless. And so it's not bound by space or time, and it occupies and it's absorbed into, and it's a creator of every inner space. And this one power that is all intelligence, it's also infinite love. It is infinite capacity for beauty and for appreciation and joy. It is total supply. It is unopposed and therefore unopposable. And so it is always in a state of absolute peace and tranquility. And it is energy and infinite power, and it is constantly creating vehicles, avenues, channels for doing what life does, for expressing more of itself. And in this case, that means more love, more joy, more harmony, more peace, more prosperity of every good thing. And each of us is an individualized channel for the expression of all of this and more. And so I know that when there is love present, there is absolutely no room for fear or doubt or anger or separation, because love dissolves all of those things. And this infinite power that is creating each of us individually and all of us collectively as we exist as divine ideas in mind is pouring and always pouring love through us and around us. And so I know that each person here is not merely an creation of this one separate from it, but each of us is actually a direct expression of all of this. And so I claim for each person here that each person is finding exactly what she or he is seeking by being here today, either physically or through some other medium, and that each person is finding peace and joy in knowing and finally having a total acceptance that we can live the life of our dreams. So I give thanks for this good. I claim that any healing that needs to occur in any person, anywhere, for any reason, for this good to be totally accepted with no prerequisites, no requirements, no yes buts, but just total thank you, God. I release it into these perfect laws that act with absolute precision. And as I release it, I anchor it, as we say together. And so it is. And now practitioner Patrick Freeman
Yay, Patrick.
is going to read our principles and our affirmations.
Okay, please join with me. I believe in God, the one creative intelligence, operating through the universe and operating throughout my entire being, now and always. I believe this perfect spirit operates upon a law of mind and creates my experience exactly according to my belief. I believe this perfect creative intelligence can be used by me and by every other person to produce health, abundance, and love in mind, body, and total life experience. I use it now, and I rejoice in it, and so it is. And for today, the affirmation is, please join with me. I choose love. I choose joy. I choose freedom. I know the universe is on my side. I know that God is good everywhere, all the time, and so it is.
Thank you, Patrick, and please welcome the Jewel Tones Choir. And our fabulous band with our guest pianist, Jules Vogel. Our first song is based on the theme from The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and it's called God Bless Us Everyone. That wonderful line that Tiny Tim says at the dinner table, and all the time it's his mantra. So God bless us everyone. Here we are.
laughter and your tears, goodness, hope, and virtue. Father, mother, daughter, son, each a treasure be. One candle's light dispels the night, now our eyes can see. Burning brighter than the sun, God bless us everyone. A miracle has just begun. God bless us everyone. Come together, one and all, in the Christmas spirit. Gifts abounding, great and small, joyously we feel it. Father, mother, daughter, son, each a treasure be. One candle light dispels the night, now our eyes can see. Burning brighter than the sun, God bless us everyone. A miracle has just begun. God bless us
Thank you so much, Hilltone. Wow. God bless us, everyone. What a great idea to contemplate any time, and especially this time of the year. My message this morning is spiritual conviction. Spiritual conviction, and what that means, if you were here for the meditation, what Reverend Bruce led us in the meditation is exactly what it means. Conviction means that when you speak your word, you know, absolutely know that it's done. That your word is power. That it's a power for good, and it's automatic. It's done. He used the example that when we press the button to the remote for our cars or our TVs or whatever that remote is for, it automatically happens. It automatic, we expect it, we accept it. It's what is. Spiritual conviction. I must say that for me, there are some things that are so easy. For instance, my watch, for instance, that was easy. Because I knew it was so. I knew it was mine, I knew it was free, blah, 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 blah. I have some physical things going on that I keep having these conversations with God. Like, okay, you do the work now. It's up to you. As if this is separate from me, but I've been trying to do it on my own, and nothing's been happening. And this is many, many months, maybe even years, and it's not serious. It's not going to kill me. It's just going to annoy me. And you don't want an annoyed minister, right? So I said, God, you need to handle this. And so far, no, not so much. Anyway, I have found a book and a person, and if I'd found this person 25, 30 years ago, I might be a Jesuit. Oh, except that they're only priests, so, so maybe not. This guy, it's Gregory Boyle. His ministry is Homeboys Ministries. Homeboys Industries. And so that what he does is he provides a program. It was his brainchild in the first place in the 80s, and he's been doing it, some version of it, ever since. and to provide rehabilitation for gang members if they don't end up in jail. Their motto is jobs, not jail. Jobs, not jail. And they employed them. The first thing they did, they employed them in a bakery. So you might have heard of Homeboy Goods that comes from this guy's brainchild. And why I say I might have become a Jesuit is he talks like me. Now, first couple of weeks ago, it was a psychologist that talked just like me, and now it's a Jesuit priest. But he quotes, he quotes Mary Oliver and Pema Chodron and Thich Nhat Hanh, in addition to telling stories from the Bible to illustrate his point. And his point is that God's love is unconditioned and unconditional, and every person is a good person. Every person is a good person. He says he has never seen, he's never met, in his 30 years of working with gang members, has never met an evil person. He's met injured people, wounded people, people that had such a tough start in life that they made choices that were not probably for their highest and best good. But I want to share, so this book and the other one he wrote is called Tattoos on the Heart. And it's filled with stories which elicit, within me anyway, compassion. And I want to share one of those with you this morning. I'm going to read part of it, just so I don't miss his beautiful words. He takes himself lightly. He takes himself lightly. So I think that's how he's worked with, like, he doesn't preach, he talks. He talks. And he talks in ways that they can hear him, and they can hear how much he loves them. Anyway, he's talking about a man named Johnny. And he says, Johnny was, he starts this section. I'll admit that there are some homies you look at and think to yourself, yeah, I'm not so sure this guy will ever be able to turn the ship around. You don't admit this, though, to anyone. You keep it to yourself and hope that anyone can alter course. People always surprise you. Johnny was such a kid. I met him when he was 15, but never in my office. He never wanted to be seen there. I'd catch him in the alley where his homies would gather. He was way tougher than someone his age ought to be. He had certainly put in the work for his neighborhood, stuff that eventually landed him in juvenile hall, then probation camp, then youth authority, and finally prison. He walked out of there at 20 years old, yet still refused to set foot in Homeboys. But it takes what it takes. Johnny found himself tending to his mother, who had pancreatic cancer. In the last 6 months of her life, I'd visit and watch her, how tenderly he cared for her, becoming the hospice point person and caring for her with such affection. When she died, I buried her. A week later, Johnny walked into Homeboy Industries. 4 months into his stay with us, a trainee, he wanders into my office to talk. What happened to me yesterday, he begins, has never happened to me in my life. It's never happened to me in my life. He tells me that he was riding the LA Metro Gold Line train, which he caught at Chinatown Station, heading east after his day's work. The car he was in was packed, yet he managed to secure a seat for himself. Standing in front of him, hanging onto the pole, was a gang member. A little older than Johnny, but with tattoos and medial pedo. A little bit drunk. Johnny was wearing a Homeboy t-shirt with the insignia and slogan, jobs, not jail, quite large over his chest. The homie, still a little wobbly, looked closely at the shirt, then at Johnny. You work there? He asked. Johnny, initially hesitant to engage the guy, nodded. It any good? The guy fired back. Not belligerent, just persistent. Johnny shrugged. Well, it's helped me. I don't think I'll ever go back to prison because of this place. Tapping the front of his shirt as he said it. Then Johnny stood, feeling as the prophet Ezekiel did when he wrote that the Spirit set me on my feet. He fished a clean piece of paper from his pocket and located a pen from another. He wrote down the homeboy address. He tells me, I couldn't believe that I knew it by heart. Johnny handed the note to the man. Come see us, he said, we'll help you. The guy hanging on the pole studied the piece of paper. Thank you, he said quietly. The train arrived at its next stop and the guy got off. Johnny reclaimed his seat and looked around the train. What happens next, he tells me, has never happened to me in my whole life. Everyone in the train was looking at me. Everyone in the train was nodding at me. Everyone in the train was smiling at me. His lip trembles and a tear appears. And for the first time in my life, I felt admired. There's a Chinese proverb, the beginning of wisdom is to call things by their right name. We want to find the right name for what was done to us, for what turned us around, for what is happening to us now. We all want to find our maximum capacity. And when that desire is strong enough, we find the legs to walk us through the hallway, down the path on the good journey. The walking back is the arriving. Beautiful, beautiful story. Just one of hundreds. Very moving to me. Because what he refused to see that any of these men or women were bad or evil, he refused to use the word bad. He said the acts may be bad, but the person is an expression, what I would say. He doesn't say that. The person is good. The person is one with God, is loved by God. All of us hear the same thing every Sunday. We are all an expression of the divine. And we're here to love each other and love ourselves in a greater way. That's spiritual conviction. That's spiritual conviction. Reverend Bruce did a wonderful meditation. It was just exactly perfect to set us up for this. And then in his opening prayer, he said, at whatever medium, and of course that is correct, but whatever medium, and so I immediately pictured a medium going, okay. So we're coming through whatever channels we come through, whether it's through our YouTube channel or some other way of getting the message. But the message is always the same. There's a power for good in the universe, and you can and do use it. You're using it right now. You're using it by your thoughts. You're using it by your feelings, by what you're convinced is true. What are you convinced is true? Ernest Holmes, in this little short essay, says, take the idea that the kingdom of heaven is within you and play with it. Play with it. Play with the idea, well, what would that mean if the kingdom of heaven is right within me? What does that mean to me? If I really knew it, what would it mean to me? If I really knew it was in everyone, what would it mean to me? How would my life be different? How would I make a difference in the world? Your spiritual, it's all throughout the Bible, but that it's our beingness, our consciousness, our acts that are important. We make changes just by being who we are. We make changes by holding that high watch of optimism and joy and lightheartedness, even in the muck and mire of things. We remember, as Emerson said, something sings something sings. Something's singing in each one of us this morning. And it's that divine harmony. I know the choir is singing. That's why some of you came, because you wanted to hear them, and you weren't disappointed, were you? And there's even more coming. That thing within you that always guides you to the right and perfect place, the right and perfect ideas. If you just trust it, will guide you here. It's like being a GPS to always be homebound. Not to stay at home, but to know that your home is where your heart is. So if anyone here is suffering in any way this morning, if you're unwell, if you're physically disturbed in some way, or if you are upset, if there's something that's happened in your life that is disappointing to you, or if someone that you love has stumbled along their pathway and you're feeling at a loss for them, what I know without any doubt, that the presence within you knows exactly for you how to deal with that, how to perceive it, how to look at it with new eyes, with God eyes, and see the good that is the only thing that the divine wants for you. Only good, only abundance, and only joy. In all things be glad. In all things be glad. So, sometimes when we would rather be right than to be healed, sometimes we get stubborn, not in a way that's going to get us a free watch, which I was stubborn about that, I must admit, but in ways that maybe are causing harm in our relationships. You can stop that right now. You can change your mind right now. Everything is about choice. Everything is about your ability to choose a new idea. So there's this story, and this story is about husband and wife that were having a spat, and they decided that there was going to be silence. That neither one of them was going to say a thing, and so he left a note on her pillow, said, "Call me at 5. My plane leaves. I need to be out of here." So he woke up at 10 o'clock. And he was furious. How could she have done this? And there on his pillow was a note that said, "It's 5 o'clock, wake up." Well, she was right. But he was late. Had to rebook the flight. So, is it worth it? Is it worth it? In this holy moment of right now, in this season, where we're celebrating newness and new birth and new ideas. Maybe there's a new idea that you could have in those relationships where you may be being righteous, and maybe you are right, but maybe it's not the thing that's going to heal the relationship. Maybe today is the time to decide that the spiritual truth of you already knows how to heal this, and is already healed. It's true. So angels can fly because that's it. They take themselves lightly. Angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. Make that your motto today. I take myself lightly. I'm convinced I'm an angel, and so it is. My hairdresser told me the other day that I look like an angel. She meant my hair color, but. Okay, let's just take that with lightness, with joy, into this present moment. And this is what I know is true. I know that there is only one power. That power is God, and it's the power of love. It is everywhere present, and it's the only healing power there is. And it is that thing that is in all time and space and beyond all time and space for creating out of the formless more expression of itself. That mighty moving power is right here in this very room. It is moving through each of us as love, as joy, as gratitude, as kindness, as new ideas. And so what I know is the idea that I take forward this morning is an idea of wholeness, an idea of wellness, of vitality, of energy and life. This is a good life, and I'm so grateful to be living it. It is good and very good and only good. And furthermore, this is a life of love. And I'm so grateful for all connections. I'm grateful for that presence within me that sees the other as self. There is only one here. And it is the epitome of love itself. I speak this word for prosperity, that new ideas come to me in this very instant that expand my prosperity consciousness, my awareness of good and only good forever and ever expanding. And I speak this word for creativity, that divine mind that is all-knowing floods me with new ideas, with ways of thinking about life that benefit myself and others. I'm so very grateful for knowing what I know. I'm grateful for this time. And with my heart just filled with gratitude, I simply place this word in law. It is complete. And please help me anchor it by saying with me, and so it is. And now, the Jewel Tones Choir.
This is called The Colors of Winter, and Kimberly Wooldridge is our soloist at the beginning.
Remind us of the baby.
Remind us of the baby who was born long ago.
Thank you. Let's give them another hand. That was beautiful. And then if the stewards would please come forward, it's time for us to share our gifts, our tithes, our offerings. So we, there we go. We say our prosperity affirmation together, and then we take a few seconds of gratitude and silence, and then it'll be followed with I am so blessed, and then followed by some other thing, which is going to be beautiful. Okay, so let's just take a moment. My offering is my acceptance of God as the source of my supply and realizes my faith in the abundant flow of this supply. angels from the fire. Wonderful. I'd like to acknowledge those of you who are in service today or have been in service this week. So if that's you, please stand so we can give you a lot of love. Poke Kevin on the shoulder. So very grateful for all of you, and then the practitioners remain standing. Practitioners are trained in the art and science of affirmative prayer, and if you want your life transformed, make an appointment to see one of these people. The energy is all right here. And to get a taste of that in the after service, stop by one of the affirmative prayer tables or in the tranquility room, and you will have a mini session with one of these wonderful people. In service today, we have Reverend Judy Chapman, Patrick Freeman, Reverend Karen Allen, and Rick Dale. That's it. If you're visiting us for the very first time, we have a small gift for you, and you just need to indicate yourself by standing or at least raising a hand. And right here. And we're going to affirm you. So, so what that means, we're going to, congregation, we're going to, there, okay. We're going to call and response. I'm going to say something, you're going to repeat it back, and this is for our visitors. We're so happy you are with us today. We're so happy you are with us today. We know that you are loved. We know that you are loved. And you have been a blessing by being here. You have been a blessing by being here. Thank you. Thank you. There's a welcome card in your bag of information and a gift, and if you take that welcome card to the bookstore, you will receive another gift. So let's acknowledge our visitors. Now, we have announcements?
We do. So continue the conversation about spiritual conviction at Conscious Connections, which meets right here in the sanctuary from 12 to 12:30, and childcare is available for that.
This week at Wednesday's Wisdom, come and celebrate the magnificence that is us. Reverend Karen and many others will share some beautiful truths about God that is also your truth. So come and be a part of the celebration. It starts at 7 p.m.
And this Saturday, the 22nd, is it this Saturday? Yes, it is. It's our holiday getaway. So bring your kids for a fun holiday experience of games and stories and crafts and food while you get to go out and do some Christmas shopping. And yes, absolutely. It's $10 a child or $20 per family, and children 2 and under are free. So if you have any questions about that, you can see Reverend Patty to sign up.
Our annual Christmas Eve service is coming up, so bring your family and friends and join in the Christmas celebration with our fabulous music, divine inspiration, and this beautiful community of love. Caroling begins at 4:45 and our service starts at 5 p.m.
And then join us on December 31st at 4 in the morning. I know, isn't that fun? You can come in your PJs if you want to. And we're gonna participate in a collective world peace meditation. So just come and share your consciousness of peace, which really does have the power to transform this planet. So, and then afterwards, then you get to go out for some breakfast. So if you have any questions about that, please see Patrick Freeman. Remember, it is that morning. It is not New Year's Eve morning, so it's the 31st.
Correct.
Yes.
And Patrick will be buying breakfast for us also.
Yes.
Right. Show up in your jammies, and we'll go to the Ritz afterwards.
When they open.
Starting on January 22nd, Dr. Heather is starting a new 10-week class, The Essential Earnest Homes. I've taken it. It's pretty good. It will be on Tuesday nights at 6:30. There's a sign-up sheet on the kiosk, and please see Dr. Heather if you have any questions. Where are those children?